Joining me today is Vijay Ramachandran, the Director of Product Management for Storage for VMware. And I'm also joined by my colleague, David Davis of VMware and Train Signal and everything else fame. And we want to talk about VSAN today. I'm sure that's been something that's been that we've seen all over the interwebs and all over the Twitter sphere. In fact, we're talking about VSAN ourselves a lot lately, and it seems like it's a pretty hot thing. Now, for those of us who understand the technology, it's great. But what about those like in the CIO, the CFO level that may not have quite a broad understanding of what VSAN is and what it can do for an organization? How do you approach those folks and say, here's what this is all about, and here's why you should have it?
Okay, so before I talk about VSAN and what it can do and what it's meant for and where it fits in, I just want to spend maybe a couple of minutes talking about what our grand vision is for storage, and then talk about how VSAN fits into this into the picture. So our goal, our mission, our goal for the next few years is on the storage side from VMware is to ensure that no matter what storage a customer has, be it external storage, internal storage, cloud storage, whatever it is, whatever storage the customer has, and customers have various options to store the data now. Some customers use cloud for certain data types. A lot of customers use external storage, NAS and SAN for certain data types. And there's also a reemergence of DAS for certain data types. So our goal is no matter where the data is stored, we want to provide a unified experience in terms of how the storage is consumed, how the storage is, is managed, and more importantly, to ensure that between VMware and the underlying storage subsystem, that we're able to guarantee automate some of the SLA management issues that customers have had in the past. So we want to be able to provide a unified experience for storage consumption, management, and SLA enforcement. Okay. That's our goal in life for the next few years. And now speaking of VSAN, VSAN is a product that's really targeted for vSphere admins, and it's meant for vSphere admins and VI admins. And it is a product which essentially uses ESX attached or vSphere server attached disks to provide an end-to-end storage system. So think of it as a clustered storage system that's built into vSphere, into ESX. And there are various reasons why we went down this path. One is because there are certain workloads in our customer environments which are just amenable for local storage and local disks. The big ones that come to mind are things like VDI. VDI is the very nature of the VDI workload is that it requires high performance, low latency, and it's amenable for a highly scalable and distributed type of storage system. And more importantly, for VDI, a lot of customers have told us that hey, there's always this tension between the team that manages the VDI environment and the team that manages storage, and to a large extent, the team that manages VDI wants to take end-to-end control of their destiny. In other words, they want to be able to provide VDI services and virtual desktop services by taking control of not just the VDI environment, but also the storage environment that goes into VDI. So VDI is a prime candidate, and is one example of a workload which is amenable for these local disks because it is because the VDI team doesn't have to go to the storage team to get to ask for storage and manage storage, and they can manage the storage on their own, and vSAN provides the right type of user experience for the VDI team, as an example. And so to go back to your to a question about where VSAN, why VSAN and where does it fit in. As I said, VSAN is a storage system that's built around thinking about vSphere admins and how they use the infrastructure. And so there are certain workloads where we believe that the vSphere admin wants to provide storage services. VDI is one of them. Test and dev maybe another one. And the reason why test and dev is a good fit for VSAN is because it lowers the cost of storage. And a lot of customers want to be able to lower the cost of storage when the criticality of data is not doesn't require the highest level of availability and performance. And so, if I can just finish, I know that you're itching to ask me another question, but
absolutely.
If I can just finish so VSAN is sort of our VMware's answer to to leveraging a third class of storage devices which are attached to ESX host. Just as we want to enable external storage and cloud storage, we want to enable users to make use of the locally attached storage devices, and we provide functionality, end-to-end functionality that clusters the ESX attached storage devices and provides a user experience provides user experience where a non-storage expert, a vSphere admin can leverage.
Okay, excellent. So
does that answer your question?
Great.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things I thought of, you said that vSAN is recommended use case right now for VDI and for test and dev. What about production? Is it recommended today for production?
So the word production is a very overloaded term.
Right.
In my mind, test and dev, VDI is production workload. I mean,
yeah.
We're not talking about VDI for lab environments. We're talking about VDI for production workloads.
Yeah.
And in the same way, test and dev for production workloads.
Okay.
So to answer your question, there's no hard and fast rule where vSAN cannot be used. It is a storage system.
Okay.
But we expect customers to not throw away the SAN and NAS storage systems right off the bat. We expect them to have the NAS and SAN storage systems for certain workloads and use vSAN where it's appropriate.
Okay.
And we expect VDI, test and dev type workloads to be a good starting point for vSAN.
If I were building a brand new data center today and I had no equipment, would it be possible for me to just buy a bunch of servers with disks and use vSAN and just walk away and use that as my entire environment?
The answer is yes. It is possible to take, to go into a greenfield environment, take a bunch of disks on servers and use vSAN to leverage those disks for storage. However, again, I go back to the use cases. It really depends on what use case or what workloads you want to deploy on your system. It would be unfair for me to sit here and say that, hey, build a data center, just buy servers, buy some disks, and you have vSAN to cover all your use cases. That's probably not the right way to think about this. The way to think about this is that customers have now one more option to consider when they think about how to architect the storage systems.
Okay.
As I understand it, VMware is trying to build a sort of ecosystem around vSAN, where you've got different partners who build, I'll call them plugins, I guess, that provide various services. Can you tell us anything about that, or how's that work?
Sure. So vSAN does have a huge ecosystem component to this, right now, our main goal as far as the ecosystem goes is ensuring that the storage system is vSAN is certified for the different hardware components that it will run on. So, for example, we want to ensure that vSAN with its SSD and hardware and hard drive components are certified for vSAN. Same goes for RAID controllers and so on. So the main activity around ecosystem with vSAN right now is how do we ensure that we have the broadest list of hardware components that are certified for vSAN, and we're working with all our hardware partners to make that happen. But looking forward, you can also imagine that vSAN that we want to provide plugins. You could imagine a scenario where we provide plugins in vSAN for software vendors to come and add their value on top of vSAN, and that's something that's very early in our thinking. We haven't. There's no committed plan. There's no roadmap for that yet. But that's something that that you could imagine happening in the future.
Yeah. And what are the minimum requirements for vSAN? You mentioned SSD and physical disk.
Right. So there are 4 or 5 major minimum requirements for vSAN. One is vSAN makes use of both flash drives and magnetic disks for in its to provide storage. Mm-hmm. And so the first requirement is that every server that is part of the vSAN cluster needs to have at least one flash device, either SSD or PCIe flash, and at least one magnetic disk to store capacity. The second requirement for VSAN is that we do require we do recommend, I wouldn't say require, we recommend a 10 gig network between the hosts, and the 10 gig network that we recommend is not for it's not for bandwidth, it's mainly for latency. And since it's a distributed storage system, you want to have lowest latency if it's distributed across, say, a number of hosts. The third requirement is to ensure that the rate controller that you have in your storage system is actually certified for VSAN. And we have certified a range of HPAs, which is essentially a pass-through rate controller, or a rate controller that is that uses vanilla rate controllers that come with the servers. Okay, so the minimum requirements are a minimum of 3 hosts to 3 vSphere hosts to maintain quorum, at least one magnetic disk and one flash device. And flash device could be either a SAS or SATA SSD or a PCIe flash. We recommend 10 gig network between the hosts. We will support less than 10 gig as well, a gigi network as well, but the recommended is 10 gig. And the rate controller that you have in your server systems need to be certified for VSAN.
Okay. If I wanted to play with VSAN right now, what's the best way to go about learning about it? Yeah, so great question. So VSAN has been in what we call as public beta since VMware. This is the first time, actually it's not the first time, it's kind of the second time, but first big time that we've done something called a public beta at VMware. So VSAN has been in public beta since VMware. What that means is that anyone that wants to try and test VSAN can do so. The bits are available publicly right now. And so we encourage anyone who wants to try out VSAN to go to the public, to go to our beta registration process. Get yourself registered. There's a very active beta community right now in our forums. So go and we ask customers to go and try out VSAN, participate in the beta activity in the beta forum, and post your questions there. All of us, including the entire dev team, is on the forum. So we answer questions as they come, and we also have a number of videos that we have shot over the last few months. All those are posted in the beta community forum. So starting with what do you do to get started, all the way to how do you do troubleshooting and performance testing for VSAN. So a wealth of information on VSAN available right now publicly in a beta forum site. Excellent. Vijay, thank you for your time, and thank you, David, for being here, and thank you for watching, and look forward to more videos.